Alrighty guys, so today we're here at 30 metres and we're going to practice. So we're here at 30 metres, we're going to practice a bit of field shooting for Greg, because Greg's got a couple of field competitions coming up. So we've got, and we're going to go up to F.A.C.T tomorrow. F.A.C.T tomorrow.
Yes, he's going to F.A.C.T tomorrow.
To practice a bit of field with Greg. So that'll be good. So we're just going to shoot a bit of 30. I got the new stabiliser, the new shrewd onyx with the dumbbell weights. A few people said it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger's old dumbbell from what was that? What was the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie? God, what?
Terminator?
No, the one with the Pump and Iron. Pump and Iron. It's straight out of Pump and Iron.
Oh, sure. I like the way it moves out to the side.
You like that one? And especially seeing I didn't bring me. Have you got your? You don't have Allen keys. Do you have Gary? Oh. Lucky Gary's got some Allen keys, because I forgot mine and my stabilisers come loose.
Already?
Brilliant.
I wonder if they've been left at Ferrell.
I haven't. No,
I need to get I need to upgrade my side mount so it can handle a heavy side mount. So that's the next step, is going to the shrewd side mount.
I thought you might have used it.
You had them here the other week when we were doing your centre shot after the debate.
Yeah. Anyway, they're gone. No worries. We're just.
So yeah, so we're going to be shooting 30 metres just to get practice for field. So what are we going to shoot? Three arrows.
There's no point making all your calculations and doing all that stuff if you're not sighted in properly. Like, you can't be 14 when it's meant to be 15. So you've got to make sure you're zeroed in from 10 metres to 60 metres every 5 metres. You've got to know them exactly. Otherwise, when you're making calculations in the field, what's the point?
Definitely.
I'll have one on that.
Okay.
That'll work. Yeah, I think that'll work.
I've got a few missing off that one.
He's always got some gadget.
No, that's
He's
it.
got something on the go, hasn't he? I think less.
It's the problem with all the big weight. You need to get a stabiliser mount that can handle it.
Would be a good thing for him. But don't tell him I said
That's an interesting theory. That'll be interesting to see. You haven't shot it like this?
I shot it once yesterday. It was holding like a dream.
Just experimenting with this weight. Have you told him what you're doing?
Well,
With the
soon have a
Arnold,
look.
attachment.
We're all tightened up.
He's got a rear Arnold here.
I'll be back.
Where'd you get all these?
3 guesses, archery supplies in South Australia.
Really?
Yeah, they're onyx weights.
That's mental.
They are
boat anchor
shrewd
if you want it,
weights.
Jimmy.
Huh? What's that?
I've got an old boat anchor at home if you want it.
Boat anchor, you reckon that'll add a bit of weight to it? I don't think I've got it angled out as much anymore.
Oh. Maybe the camera should be there, Jimmy, like so we can see all 3 of us.
All 3 of us looking ahead.
Well, otherwise they just see you.
Good work, Spielberg, good work. But the sun, that's the problem.
He's a good one. I'm old. Brush your hair first. What are you shooting the top one, do you know?
Yeah.
Seems like a plan.
I can let you know. Just out of the X. About 10 o'clock.
We're getting in the gold, but I'll be happy after Monday morning. Get to shot.
Oh, that's more like it, Gary. Good adjustment.
I didn't touch anything.
What did I do? Zero again. You've got a 4 o'clock 9.
No, I didn't touch anything. Still needed that. Lean forward.
Do we get this little tip? What's
Yeah,
this
I was
little
just saying
tip?
to Greg's shooting a field, and the thing with field is the inconsistent foot positions, the ups and downs and everything. It's a lot harder, and like Jimmy touched on it the other week, if you're a good field shooter, you're going to be a better target shooter because it's so consistent and structured and well, not comfortable, but still structured and smooth under your feet. So that's the issue with the field. So what I've just suggested to Greg, and it's an accepted technique in archery, most people, you should be sort of leaning forward and keeping the weight onto the ball of your foot. Just work on that, because if it gives his body a forward lean with the weight on the ball of his foot, it gives him something to push back on and to keep that balance a little bit better, hopefully. Because that's the big issue with field, is the inconsistencies. And even when I'm coaching, and Greg will tell you this, I'm even an advocate for people wearing the same shoes every time they shoot. Because the basis of your technique is your balance and your posture. And the brain recognises every little part of your technique. And if you walk up with different shoes, or your shoes not done up, Greg, not done up again, your body recognises that. And the basis of every good technique is your balance and your posture and your stance, and that's where it starts, right at your feet. Although it worked for Greg a couple of years ago. I think you shot in your Ugg boots at the National Indoor Group.
Right. I got to get out of my pyjamas. I was in that much of a rush.
So I was at 2016 National Indoor, shot in his Ugg boots. But I think you shot it perfect, didn't you? 300?
I got a national record.
Still holding.
Yeah, still holding.
Still holding.
No,
Still
because there's
holding
about
national.
5 guys on it. Ricky Chia, Scott Buscombe, myself, Mathews, someone. We all got perfect 300. It's
Wow.
not that hard to do.
Oh, I still haven't done it. Greg does it after 2 months of shooting arrows.
Obviously, if you're downhill, it's a bit different.
Looks like my sights are off a fraction. Bit high. A lovely group. Greg's all in the gold, which is good to see.
A bit right though.
A little bit to the right. Gary's group's as good as mine.
I've got an excuse to that.
Gary's the best excuse.
I've just got set up with that right side machine. So maybe, I don't know, something like that. Tampering. They don't call him Florida Jimmy for nothing. Always having a tamper. Oops.
You want me to pull them for you, Gary? You alright?
No, mate, I'm right.
Yeah, let me pull them. I feel bad.
I've got the sun shining through the back. So I move forward about 2 and a bit metres to get the shade of the tree. So that's why they're a bit low.
Alright. What was I? A little bit to the left. A little bit high.
get a good picture of the skirt housing. If the bubble goes right, does the shot go right or left?
If the bubble goes right, you're actually canting the bow. It probably goes right as well because it'll swing the arrow under the bubble.
That's a good question. Let us know in the comments if you know at home. If your bubble's right, which way does the arrow shoot?
Left or right?
There's a funny story about, is it Logan Wild, his brother, Rio Wild's brother? When Logan, I think he comes
I think it
second.
might be the opposite.
Logan,
I think if your bubble's that way,
it goes the other way. Well, there was, I think Rio Wild's brother comes second in Vegas. Was it second or first? But anyway, he was shooting with his bubble completely over to that side. Like, I mean, you couldn't get it any further that way. So he was canting his bow completely and still won Vegas somehow.
But why was he doing it?
I don't know. I don't know why he was doing it.
Well, if you're doing something wrong, as long as you do it wrong exactly
All the
same every
time.
time,
What's the difference?
it works.
So I'm flicking them over. Greg's in the money now.
All over the shop.
Oh, Gary, could you just be mindful of the tape?
Oh, sorry. I forgot about that.
Obviously.
I'm not used to shooting at a
You kicked it and stomped
inadequate
it like
primitive
like
range.
a prisoner.
Drag it forward.
One thing I'm going to do today too is order a new release. I'm going to get a tension activated release because you know I've been saying I've got the problem with pulling too hard into it all the time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to swap and go to the, need a new battery, hang on. Swap to a tension activated release just to teach myself not to pull too hard into it. So that's my problem, pulling way too hard in the bow at the moment. Alright, we'll be back.
You might enter one arm bigger than the other one.
One thing I do notice, Gary, is that you really have to hold it up, you know, can't decant the bow because it's hanging over, but you really feel it in your bow hand, so it makes you relax your bow hand anymore. So that's what sorry Greg. So I notice that I relax my bow hand more because I feel my bow hand more, it makes me conscious of it, so I notice I got a lot more relaxed bow hand. That's one thing that I've noticed from it anyway.
until 9 o'clock.
I am, aren't I?
So are you going to change your style or are you going to move your side across?
I'm going to move my side. I just wanted to see where it's grouping because I don't know where they're grouping with the new. And then that last arrow I aimed at me group, not at the centre. I'll move my scope over a bit and see how we go. Gary's hanging around the centre now.
Not much. Not much.
So there's my group off to the side.
There's that
Gary's in the
talking one that's
centre.
coming out.
That's a talking one.
The talking one.
And Greg's all in the gold.
Oh no, this one's not in. So I am tending to error, making a left error. So I'm doing something that's making them go left.
Flicking them out left for some reason.
We're here somewhere. It's going.
Only 33% of the arrows are over there.
33%.
Yeah, 2 or 6.
There you go, Gary.
Isn't that nice? Jimmy's pulling the arrows for the old fella.
Here you go.
We don't want you to rupture your old fella.
Well, I'm definitely grouping there, aren't I?
Yeah, they've all been low. They were a bit low on the line, but they've always been left, haven't they?
Mm.
Yeah. Interesting. Step on your tape, Rick.
So I'll adjust the sight settings accordingly and see how we go. Maybe that's the weights really talking them over, pulling them over a bit. It's a nice looking rod though, isn't it? The carbon fibre.
Oh, the whole rod is new.
Yeah, the whole new rod. I used to have the four little tubes,
Yeah.
and then you know the wind can pass through them. But
You see the stabiliser on the spoiler? One of those low profile ones.
oh, the fuse ones.
Yeah, don't you love it? You got low profile stabiliser so it doesn't hit the wind, but you've got your body there. Like a red line, it's just like saying you got a big body on top of it.
Yeah. What's me follow through look like?
It's sort of not there because the bow's not doing anything. But the follow through is there because the arrow's well gone. But the bow's not dropping.
Doing anything. Just stays there.
Which is not a bad thing.
Just so it's neutrally.
Just neutral.
Neutral at the moment.
There's no movement of the bow dropping down. It just stays there.
Are you talking to get it at the bubble level?
No, I just sit it. I just sit it there.
That's right.
I just sit it. I just feel more pressure on this side of my hand than the other side.
Yeah. So you really got to push into it.
Yeah, nearly. Yeah. You got to hold it up. I think it'll take me a couple of goes to get used to if I do stick.
You like to get used to it because you've been doing it the other way.
Yeah. I might add a bit more weight to the front, get it going a bit forward a bit more. There's nothing like 3 groups. One group here, one group here, one group here. And Greg's got one group here.
Oh my, I haven't shot one like this. Body shaking everywhere.
General anaesthetic. Oh, you'd be surprised how those drugs get into you and take.
Yeah.
It's anything like painkillers, man. They days to get out of your system.
Let's have a look how much you're destroying the target. That's alright. That's alright.
Do you want to go back to these now and shoot 40?
Yep, if you
Do
want.
that then, and we'll get back on your safe little yellow.
No, I'll just leave it. You out of here?
No,
Watching. I think it's a good idea. Leave it up, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I like his one better.
Oh dear.
In best dressed. Oh. There's a nail there already. Just your old flathead nails.
I've ordered some more,
Can't
but
get
they're coming.
cheaper than that, I tell you. In the archery game.
Alright.
The old flathead.
Oh, you want to go back to 50 or we'll go back to, you want to go back to 50? 40. Alright, so now we're moving back to 40. Greg's got his 30 metre setting. Gary's going to do a bit of coaching. I can, I'll mark the 10 metres.
Okay.
What do you want to? Oh, you want to?
You're going to be on 20.
One more.
One more.
Big now. Yep. That's, 20, not 21. Tick. Sorry.
Oh. Good work, coach.
Okay, come back here. Right out. That's 20 years.
Is it?
Yep.
There's your 40 right there.
What about that? Alright, we've got our 40 metre setting.
You better check.
You know what we can do?
You did it, Gary. You did it.
I got it right.
Yeah, let's give this back to you, Gary, and you can commentate and tell people what you're seeing.
Oh, right here.
How about that? So we'll give Gary the mic and he can fill you in and tell you what he's seeing between me and Greg.
I'm pretty interested in the stabiliser setup that Jimi's got. Probably a sound theory forcing against the weight. I don't know whether the forcing against the weight makes it more consistent or makes it harder because your concentration is being taken away to trying to keep the bow level at the bubble.
Divided, isn't it? It's dividing in concentration.
It's very important with the technique that you don't have one particular thing that's distracting you from everything else. This is the problem when you try to change something in a technique. You're concentrating or thinking so much about that one thing, then other things start to fail. So I'm a bit either way on this idea. But again, it comes down to personal preference. Again, if you're happy with it and it works for you, well, it probably will. That's the bottom line with this sport. One thing Jimmy did mention is that because he's got to focus on pushing the bow vertical and get the bubble level, it's making him aware of his bow hand more, which is not a bad thing.
So I'm going to get a new release too, Gary.
Oh, just to throw another little factor into the works. One of these days when Jimmy gets himself sorted, he'll probably shoot all right if he keeps changing stuff.
That one.
I guess the proof is in the results, regardless of how you have it set up.
That's right.
The only thing I find with that stabiliser, the way you got it, it's a bit cumbersome trying to get a bit of a flow on your technique with your knocking, and the follow through is non-existent, only purely because the bow doesn't move. It's very neutral, which is not a bad thing. The arrow's long gone, and then you got to swing it around your body to knock another arrow.
Well, I had to do that anyway, so it's part of your
You might be popular at a tournament, you might get in the way a bit. Greg's looking very nice and balanced and fluid and comfortable. Very good. It's like Jimmy starts again every week.
I do, don't I?
With this
Well,
change.
that's one of your favourite things about archery is trying new things.
Try new things. I'm all for trying new things, but you got to establish and get a. You got to set a standard where you might think, okay, this is where I need to go from. If you change too much, because I think there's a bow issue coming up too, isn't there?
New bow coming as well.
Is that a flat battery bipping at me?
Yeah, but what I was thinking about the new release, my problem lately is, Gary, that I'm when I get back and I start my shot process, I start pulling back too hard, and then I get too much tension. Then once I'm pulling too hard, I start doing these ones because I'm pulling so hard.
This is a problem with the back release style release aid.
Well, yeah,
You've got to be very aware of just moving that fingers and the back tension and not the whole body.
So I was going to get a tension activated release that goes on back tension, so I can't pull back too hard.
You can't
if I pull back too hard, it just goes off.
Okay.
So I'm just as training an aid, as a training aid to get that. So I'm pulling back the same tension every time. I was talking to Adam Gibson, the pro, and he said they one of the top sports scientist people got him and 5 other pros together, and they put weight sensors on his releases.
Oh yeah.
And they said they tested how much poundage each pro actually used to set it off.
Yeah.
And he said when they were using the fingers or just one release, no one could get within 5 pounds of their same release draw weight. So one would be like 25 pounds, one would be 20, one would be 23.
Yeah.
They said they couldn't get in within 25 pounds, but when they started relaxing their hand into the shot, they could all get their poundage within half a pound of each time. And he was saying it's important that you're pulling back the same amount every time, so you're not over stressing.
This is the thing with your back tension release aids too. It's the trouble with the back tension release aids. It makes you aware of your back tension, but then if you're not using your back tension, that's when you start using your arm pressure to release them, and that's the problem. I've always believed the theory of back tension release aids is very, very sound. Personally, I can't use one because all my life I've I've pulled the trigger with my finger. It's a deliberate action. So I have to have a deliberate action. Like I know some release aids even have the reverse. You actually remove your finger. There's no way I could do that because I've always had a deliberate action, and I can't use the back tension release aid.
Yeah.
But I appreciate and I understand and I agree with the theory, why it's sound theory, but it's all down to having that right release at the time that dot's in the right spot, because there's not a lot of people can hold that dot in the middle all the time and not move it. So
well, that's my thing. I got about a 2-second window. If I like once I go, okay, now I want it to shoot. If I hold more than 2 seconds, I start wobbling.
you got that 33% factor happening again, Greg.
You've got that leftness going on again.
Yeah.
I hope the scope's set up all right.
Scope's perfect, Greg.
Well, you don't. Well, that's in the shooting. It's in the shooting, not in a video.
In a controlled environment, it is.
Because they keep going to the left.
But only half of them.
Yeah, well, maybe those two should have been there and the rest should have been in, you know what I mean? Like my centre should be there.
This is where that bubble issue's got to be spot
I'm
on.
watching that bubble.
Watching the bubble? Yep.
Yes, I'm going to get a stand element release.
Here's another thing with release aids. Greg, can I have yours? Jimmy was spot on the other day when he did the video about how you work out what release aid suits you. I've only got a very small hand. This one that Greg's got weighs about 4 kilos. And it's huge. I couldn't use that because it's just too big for my hand. I use a Cartel Insatiable, which virtually the same shape as this, and what Jimmy said about your hand shape is spot on, but it's a lot small, physically smaller and a fair bit lighter. So what he said again is you've got to look at the shape of your hand, the position of your fingers, and what you're comfortable with. The Cartel actually do, I think it's a chocolate, same mechanism as the Insatiable that I use, but it's virtually dead flat, which to me doesn't make sense because your hand's not dead flat, your fingers are a contour. And the more comfortable that release aid is in your hand, the better off it is. And it's very personal. Release aids are probably the most personal thing of all the archery equipment. Very personal because everybody's different. And like I say, I couldn't use that because it's just physically too big for my little hand. Yeah.
Hang on, here you go. Feel this
What's that one?
That's a medium of the same thing.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I could get away with that. But see, here's another thing too. I don't use all this trigger stuff. I've just got the activator here and I just rest with my thumb like that because I find it's out in no man's land to me. Again, personal thing. Everybody's different, and if it works for them, it works for them. But that one feels better, yeah. That's a lot better, and you can see purely by the difference in size as to why this one's more comfortable to me than that one is, and that I'd get tired carrying that one around. That's heavy, isn't it? But again, I've been using it for, I reckon I've been using it for 16 years, that Insatiable of mine, and I set it up initially, and I haven't adjusted the sieve pressures in don't know how long, and it's still perfect. Hasn't changed.
Definitely a good release. The old Carter, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I think I paid $250 for it about 15 years ago, so it was a lot of money.
Right, yeah.
But you only get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's true. It's very wobbly.
What I'm noticing with Jimmy's bow with this new setup, it's very neutral on release. It doesn't move forward, doesn't move down, doesn't really do anything, which in itself's not a bad thing.
Just stays there.
It's providing it stays in the same place and it's a clean release. The arrow is clear. It's not a bad thing. The follow through is all about a consistent movement on the bow, and Jimmy's is very neutral at the moment.
Well, I wanted to give it direction, so it's opposite to what I wanted to do.
Yeah, well, it's not moving anywhere. It just sort of stays there.
Direction, doesn't it?
No.
Just bang and go.
Yeah, it doesn't move anywhere.
It doesn't move at all.
Well, you got to understand, you got a lot of weight to get moving there, and you're relying on the more.
That's a true too.
Yeah, the more weight you got to move, the more effort it takes. The limbs travelling forward do a certain amount, but obviously not enough to move the rest of the bow.
Doesn't go anywhere, does it?
Doesn't move. But that's not, like I say, it's not a bad thing. It's all about having that consistent stable release. If it was kicking up or doing something silly, you'd be concerned, but the fact that it's not moving in itself is not bad. Like I say, my only concern is that pressure you've got to use to keep the bubble level and the bow vertical, whether that's going to distract you from other stuff. That's what you need to be keep aware of.
Definitely, I definitely feel the hold.
Yeah.
I definitely feel it. When I noticed that when you get to the spot where you're locked in, you're like this, and then all of a sudden it settles.
Yeah.
When it settles, it's a lot more still than what it used to be, though.
All right, well that's working. That's working.
That's one thing I've noticed. Getting it to go while it's settled, though. That's
What you could probably look at is maybe that angle there. If you brought that rear stabiliser down a little bit, that might put a little bit more weight forward.
oh, and that'll key out.
Whether that will help.
Yeah.
It's not kicking back. It's neutral.
Yeah.
It's not. It's fine, but I don't know whether that might just give you that little bit of drop forward. Yeah.
I might try that.
I think it was me. I got none left that time. One right.
Okay, well, it must have been something you were doing initially on that first end, because that was the first end of 40, remember?
Out on the conversation this time.
Yeah, it was the first end you shot, I think. But that grip looks a lot better. Down the centre, looking very good. Technique looks great. Relax, follow through, everything's there, it's good.
Put 2 more clicks on that, and that's going to be in the middle. There.
Well, look, the reality of this thing you're trying, Greg, Jimi, is results,
See,
and
nothing here. I just did that one bad right one there.
40 metres is not too bad. That's pretty
Not
good.
too bad, is
That's
it?
good. I mean, results is what you want.
So we can quote him on that.
That was pretty goes without saying, that one. But that's good to be getting that sort of a group only when you're first sort of setting
Not
that
used to
up,
it,
not
yeah.
used to it. And that gives you confidence for the fact that, hey, maybe I've got this right.
Maybe something's going on here.
That's
yeah.
exactly
Let's go
right.
to 50 now. Are you happy with that?
We can go to 50 if you want to go to 50.
So you're busting to get to the blue ribbon distance.
Oh, the blue ribbon distance, he
Yeah,
says.
all the feeders next year, is it?
Yeah, everything's 50.
Everything's 50.
Oh, no. You said that they were going to make it 60.
No, they were talking about it.
Yeah, to
The
get rid
pros
of
were
all
talking about it, but they want to go from 50 to 60 metres to make it harder for them.
No, not for harder for them, to stop all the
Riffraff.
the lucky guys
Yeah.
getting in and shooting. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. They don't want any, the lucky dogs.
Lucky dogs.
How dare they put a skill factor in it?
The lucky dogs.
Alright, so let's get back to 50. There we go.
There's another issue too with this heavier setup, maybe that might help you in the wind too.
Well, that's true as well. It'll keep you more steady in the wind, wouldn't it?
Could do.
Yes, I think I'm running around 40 ounces at the moment. So I'm still 20 ounces of what the pros are running.
Yeah? Jeez.
Still running around the 60.
Can't think my whole setup weighs that.
A few people said that too.
Yeah.
But they don't weigh as much as your back stabiliser.
This is the enjoyable part about this sport, trying different ideas and putting stuff out there. Gets people thinking, changing. Yeah, you got to put this sort of stuff out there and say, well, I'm going to have a go at this, and then other people go, oh, that might work for me. Of course, you could use it to play with people's heads a bit too.
You want me to pull it back till you're ready? That's it. Is that it there?
What are we shooting, 52?
Shoot 52 though. whole time.
51, oh, sorry, 51 maybe.
How did you measure it?
Rangefinder.
Looks like you got some.
Oh no, I didn't use a rangefinder. I walked it out with the wheel.
It's useless, isn't it? I take the wheel back.
Looks like you got some landscaping to do, Jimmy. Move your shooting platform.
Give us your rangefinder. I got a rangefinder.
Oh,
I looked at my rangefinder. It was out by a metre at 20.
Really? That's huge. 5%. You're allowed to use them in unmarked events?
Yeah, that defeats the whole purpose.
It does, but you used to be able to.
Cut that out. Don't let them hear the coach say that.
No, we could back in the old days.
That says 49.
Alright, well it looks like it's right then. Well, your rangefinder's wrong.
Yeah, it's here. It's here.
Yep.
According to the rangefinder, but you can't argue with that.
You can't argue with the tape measure, providing you've had it right when you've had to change it.
So 40. Over English Shosha.
Jimmy's got the wheel out. The trouble with the wheel, that uneven surface, and you've got a big dip next to that shed, that could give you a false reading. Oh no, he's coming up on the high side. It could be bouncing and not spinning over all that rough ground too.
But I mean, you can't, it's tape's a tape.
Tape's a tape.
It's never
Yeah,
wrong.
you would think so.
It's never wrong.
It wasn't a real straight line you walked, Jimmy.
Is it?
No.
That's 49.
Well, that's what the rangefinder says. The edge here's about 50.
My rangefinder says that's 50 right there.
Yeah.
But the tape can't be wrong.
Well, it can
If we mucked it up where we started it from.
Right, let's quickly just go and check, just for
Well,
peace of mind.
I just done it. 50's just here.
Near enough.
But I disagree. Well, you can't just take one and go, that's the answer I wanted. Yes, the Earth was created by a Big Bang. That's our discussion.
Isn't it rangefinder and wheel? Isn't it rangefinder and wheel?
The rangefinder is disputable. you can't make it. Let's go, Gary. We'll be, by
Look
the
out,
time
okay.
he's finished, we'll be done.
We're going to do it properly with the tape, are we?
I think so.
All right.
Add that into the tape.
We'll do.
He's got to be in for these state titles. We've got to make sure things perfect. Let's put it all over the shop video for those of us. So now we're going to do how to get your distances right. Because that's exactly where the thing said. Yep.
Visual mark there.
Oh yeah, yep. So the tape measure out, make sure things perfect. Greg thinks it's there.
Looks like we've got 3 opinions and they're all the same.
Huh?
We got 3 opinions and they're all the same, or
No.
is that 50 where the arrow is on the tape?
Yep.
Well, that's a metre out from what the rangefinder in the wheel says.
It's a bit funny that the wheel and the rangefinder say the same.
Yeah.
The wheel has only got to be inaccurate by that much. Every time you click it over,
Yeah, it only has to
double
be
it,
1%
double it,
out.
double it. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you're going to be up by that much at 50 turns. Bring the wheel over here, Gary. Let's measure the wheel.
This is riveting stuff, isn't it? All right, what are we testing the wheel, are we?
The tape can't be wrong.
No, they can't. The tape. Is it a reasonable quality tape?
So, what is this?
Just throw another
What
variable
do
in
they
it.
say this is?
Spin it and see. You should be able to push the reset button and spin it and see how much it says.
Five. Yep.
Is that 5 metres?
Half a metre.
Half a metre, 500, yeah. All right.
500.
All right, well, what do you want to do? You want to test that? Yeah, but you're going to get on a flat surface to get an
No, I'm
accurate
gonna-
account.
no,
Oh, you're going to, what are you
yeah.
going to do?
Wrap it around the wheel. And
Oh, okay.
Sorry if my science confuses you.
No, I'm on the ball now. I know what you're doing.
Right.
So you're measuring the circumference of the wheel.
Yep.
And it should be half a metre. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, see, look at that difference.
Well, it's only 390.
See
Hang
that
on.
extra 2? See that extra 2 there?
Yeah.
Just there, see that
Two
extra
mil
bit.
out.
And could that over time?
Well, 2 mil every
50.
rotation.
2 mil times 100 because it's 2 rotations to a metre.
Oh man, he's getting real.
Oh,
That's right. There's 100 rotations
I got it, eh?
times 2 mils is
20 centimetres.
20 centimetres at least. There could be 3, and if it's 3, it's 30 centimetres. And we're out by what? How much here?
Oh, that's at metre. That's 1,000. That's a metre for sure. Yeah, maybe.
Did you grab that for a second? Or? I don't think there's any doubt that
This is Greg's scientific brain kicking in here. Me and Jimmy don't know what the hell's going on.
20. Is that a metre? It's exactly a metre.
All right,
Exactly.
here we go, the test. That's a metre there. It's marginally more, isn't it?
Yes, it just keeps adding on.
Yeah, it just compounds. And that would equate for the metre difference at 50 for sure. But doesn't...
I don't think these machines are set up to, you know.
Bearing in mind too, when Jimmy
You're
was
on a
walking...
football field. You can't have a 100-metre football field out by 2 metres.
When Jimmy was walking up there, he was doing this.
Oh, you are.
Was I?
There was a compounding factor there.
Well, that might have had it.
Well, it doesn't explain the rangefinder though, because it agrees with the wheel.
That's very confusing.
All you've got to do is dig that out there and dump it here.
Yeah, that's what I did there.
I'm just
I've done it
gonna,
once, Greg. I know what to do.
I'm gonna,
Oh, look, don't shoot the messenger.
I'm gonna throw another factor in here for you too, Greg.
So,
Given that this is for a field, the people that are measuring the field, how accurate are they going to be?
yeah,
They're using the rangefinder.
They're using a
I
rangefinder.
can't rely on that. I have to make sure all my variables that I'm in control of are perfect.
Exactly, yeah, that's right. But you've got to factor that in if you're having a day where you're shooting a little bit low or a little bit high. It could be their
There's the
rangefinder.
temperature, could be freezing there, you know. It's
Barometric
all-
pressure,
there are
it could
many
affect
factors,
it.
But let's not just say, well, because there's so many factors, let's not worry about it.
Let's take up tennis.
Look, feel free to shoot from that
No,
position.
no, I agree. You should,
doesn't
you
matter
should
where
feel
you-
there. If you think that's 50 metres, you should shoot where you think 50 metres is.
It's good for me to be in the rough anyway.
That's right. A bit of uneven ground for your practice.
So how long are you going to shoot and set a bit of a benchmark for this new setup, Jimmy, before you might tweak it a bit?
Maybe a day,
Yeah?
2 days. No, I'll give it a run. I'll give it a good run. Give it a couple of weeks. I might shoot it until I get the new bow.
Well, yeah, that's going to throw a whole lot of more questions in because it's going to react completely differently to that one because it's parallel limb.
Yeah.
You're going to have to change techniques a bit too, I think.
Everything's going to change.
Everything's going to change.
But I've never had no luck. Do you know, I've shot exactly the same ratings. I haven't improved one bit since I've got this bow.
Mm.
So I was shooting 104 when I was shooting me Conquest 4. I got this, went down to like 95 and then just got back up to like 104. So it's not like I haven't made any improvement since I got this bow. That's why I'm not really worried about it. I'm happy to start again.
Well, the fact that you change everything every second day doesn't help. I thought I had to throw that in, sorry.
So I changed everything with my Conquest too.
Yeah.
That's the variable that I'm used to.
You got to have a benchmark. You got to have a standard. You got to have a starting point.
Got to pick with one thing and run with it.
That's it for a while. That's looking good, Greg.
Yeah, as long as it went high and left.
Yeah, a bit high left.
What I'm doing to shoot high left, I've got to stop.
The fact that you're 50 metres away is probably a little bit variable there. No. I've got to say, we've got Greg's technique down very consistent now. It's nice and smooth and fluid and very consistent.
Oh, it's really awesome,
I'm
Yeah.
a machine.
You're a machine. You always told me that. Won't accept the human factor. A little bit of left happening there, Jimmy.
Dude,
The group's good though. You can't argue with it if you're comfortable with it and it's working for you.
It's me release too. I don't have a very good release at the moment.
Yeah, you're a little bit shaky today. I
Oh,
noticed.
aren't
Yeah,
You notice that I'm like locked on and then I just start shaking
Yeah.
and shoot.
yeah. I was all over the shop today. I guess being under a general anaesthetic Monday morning didn't help.
Definitely didn't help.
No, I'll give it away today. I'll just watch.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Bit of recovery.
Yeah, yeah.
Dog shit. It's not dog shit.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Greg's coming out the other side now. We've got his technique very consistent, very comfortable and relaxed, and that's the big thing. You've got to, it all starts with the technique. The results come after the technique's established. It's very important to remember.
There's my group. There's Greg's group. I forgot the camera.
Oh.
So he's in this one. Okay, I got a few. Well, that's high fruit for me, but
You're getting tired holding up all that weight, are you?
it's just this is what happens. I'll tell you what happens, John. So I'm here, this is me pin, I get locked on the center, like this is me, you know what I mean? I'm zigging around, and then I float it in, and I get it just there, floating in. Okay, now start my shot process. I'm floating, I think, God, hurry up and go. Then I start doing these, and I'm like, God, is it ever gonna go? Bang. So it's like, if it went while I was here, I'd be laughing. But it just takes a bit too long, and then I start back to this.
I say use a thumb release.
What I want to throw in there with what Jimmy's explaining, I've got a little sighting tip for you, which you may or may not already be aware of. Instead of trying to put the dot in the centre, focus on the centre and make the dot interfere with your vision to the centre. They're two different things, just think about it. You're physically trying to put that dot in, you're doing chasing it, but if you're staring at the centre and you just make that dot interfere with your vision to the centre, two completely different ideas. Try that.
I do that.
You do?
But it's
okay.
just, I can't hold it for the amount of time that I need to hold it for. That's my problem, you know what I mean? Right. So, like, when it's go time and my brain says go now, it goes 5 seconds later.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and what you got to be careful of that is start anticipating the release, then you start punching releases.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the next problem with that.
That's why I like the back tension, because I can't anticipate it, but it just takes longer than I would like.
Yeah, and you need it to go off at the right time too.
Yeah, that's it. You want it to go off when you're in the centre. You don't want it to go off when you're all over the place. So that's what I'm going to. I'd like it. And when I had a tension activated release, and when I was using that, I felt a bit more consistent with the weight. And what happens too? This is what happens too. So I'm here, and when I start to pull back and pull back and pull back, I start pulling back too hard, and then I feel it in the front end. Because it's like pushing.
Well, this is the offset problem with a deliberate release trigger, thumb release aid, because it is a deliberate action. The action can become anticipated or made deliberate, which creates other problems down the track. And this is why the back tension is a sound theory, but very difficult to have effectively and efficiently.
Maybe that's why they have those rollers with the real big wheels when they do allow.
Oh, we're on rollers now, are we?
Well, look at like the wheels are big on them.
Yeah.
Because you can't make that mistake. Because you see 30s too far this way, like half of that.
Yep, they do have big wheels, don't
They have a big wheel, so if there is it's a mill out, it won't make any difference.
Well,
you can't have Osama
Bin Laden?
Bin Laden running a 101 metre race. It's got to be 100. You've got to get it right. So they use the wheel.
Oh, you're talking about Bolt.
Yeah,
you're saying
that's
Bolt,
him.
not Osama Bin Laden.
It was close.
Now I know what you're talking about. And the problem with that one too, Jimmy, it's a very small wheel. So if it bounces and doesn't turn.
It would be a little variable.
But it agreed with the rangefinder.
Let's go back to the thumb and see if I get any better grip.
Just what we need to do, change release aid with a new bow setup. Good idea, Jimmy. Like Greg's over here staying out of all of this. He's just doing his job.
Just doing the job.
Excellent, doing it very well too.
Sticking with what I know.
I've got some different arrows there if you want to try, Jimmy.
Just add another mix in there.
Those arrows are a lot better than the other ones, aren't they? They're good. That's excellent.
I'm trying to look at the target and let the
Just keep that follow through happening. Don't chop it short because you're shooting well. You be careful of that. Looking good, Jimmy.
So if it goes off when I'm on the hold, it's not too bad then.
Aren't we all?
And then them high ones, if I'm over corn again.
Yeah.
Because what happens, because I'm putting so much tension into that front hand, when I
Yeah, you explode. Yep.
Explode out of it. And when I do, John Dudley's got this thing, he calls it the check-in, where you like, you get to your full draw and then you just... Alright, but we're back. Here's the groups if you didn't see them. There's Greg's group. It was a 58, I missed it. I think I bumped a button or something. Time it in. And here's mine, hanging in there, and here's my high one that I flicked up. So if I can get rid of that over-pulling flick shot, I should be right. So I ordered that today, and hopefully I'll have that new release tomorrow.
Well, you've lost
Stanley disease.
You've lost your left impact with going back to that release, eh?
Oh, I have, haven't I?
Yeah.
Because I'm not. See, because that happens. See, when I'm pulling to.
Your bow end's exploding.
It's exploding out. I have lost the left, haven't I?
Yeah, you have.
I noticed actually you said that.
Yeah, that's right. This is why you need an independent person watching.
It's watch from the outside.
That's right.
I've already smashed a vein, that'll be right.
It's looking really good, Greg. You're up to that.
Brand new fletched arrows.
Technique's spot on now.
One hole in
The
one.
results are coming. Good.
You want us to fill that up for you, Gary? You right?
Nah, I've got enough there, mate. It's all good. Very consistent, Greg. Yeah, it's so good. You're not having any. They're all being tight and tidy. That's good.
Target's very blurry. Put that on to stop blurriness, and it's...
Yeah, well, don't let that play in your mind.
No. I'm not going to change it now.
You got a solid dot, a solid pin to look at on your scope. It's all clear, and yeah, well, that's the main thing. Blurry target.
Light value, have you?
Nah, he reckons the target's blurry.
Now I'm not sure if it's as blurry as the other one, but it is blurry, like it's just a fuzzy ball.
Just yeah. Just aim for the centre of the fuzzy ball.
Then with the thumb I start anticipating a bit and start jumping with it, so
Yeah.
it's like a catch-22.
It is.
I think there is a bit of a left breeze coming in here.
There's a marginal right and left, for sure.
So that was anticipated flinching.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to make it a bit stiffer so I'm not pulling into a bit more.
That sounded like it went right through that one. You might have to move your target down a bit.
It means I'm in the X.
That means you're in the centre.
That little soft spot's right there.
Yeah.
Now Stephen Hansen, the last 2 gold medal matches, because you know they do the World Cups or whatever, Berlin, whatever. The last 2, he's got to the last end and swapped back to the thumb for the very last end. Just for the very last end of the gold medal match. Both times he's done it now.
It's probably a little brain trick to distract himself.
No, I think it wigs himself out, because the last one he threw it in the crowd. He's just gone, whoop!
Yeah.
And it's just gone flying, and then he pulled out the back tension. tell you one thing that I've put this, I get a lot more bounce off since I've put this on. I don't know.
I noticed you dropped it a couple of times off the rest.
Yesterday when I first shot it, I think I dropped it 15 times in
Yeah,
a row. I just
that-
could not get it to go off.
That was one of the issues I mentioned in the
in the video.
in the rest video with the blade rest. Yeah.
Is that a thumb release or a
He's changed.
they've changed?
Mid-round.
That's the issue too when you draw your carbon arrow back on those blade rests. It actually sharpens the rest each time.
Yeah.
You notice the points get quite sharp because carbon's actually quite abrasive, quite coarse. There's been a bit of interest in Greg's string stop on his bow too, I noticed.
It has.
Yeah.
The old Prevail string stop.
It took me a while to convince him to put the string stop on.
He hasn't looked back though, has he?
I like them just because they make the bow. There's a sudden stump. There's no harmonic vibrations or anything like that.
Yeah.
The bow just sounds nicer when you shoot them. Whether they make a difference, makes a difference to me because the bow sounds nicer.
That's,
Sounds crisper.
One thing I'm going to be cool about the new bows, they come with string stops.
Yeah, they've probably got double, have they, like the OK?
No, just one.
Yeah, that's what I like about the OK. It's actually got double, one top and bottom. So when they hit the string actually follows through in an even pattern instead of just one on the bottom.
Well, here's me again.
They were all high, weren't they?
Got two wide ones. That was my first one, and that was the flick out, but these two are in there. These ones are hanging in there.
Oh, there it is.
Greg's got another pass.
A little bit high, that one,
Greg.
Greg.
Order another thing for him.
A bit high, that group.
They're all high, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. It's obviously something you've done because it's very consistent. You might have had the scope a little bit out in your peep.
Well, I can't see the whole scope.
You can't. You really need to be able to see the whole scope.
It's funny that it's changed
I
overnight.
thought I could see the whole. I'm sure I was.
You
looking at
told
the whole
me you
scope.
could.
Different light conditions can do that too.
Yeah, I've noticed.
If you do it I found with mine, if I shoot an indoor, I can actually see more around my scope than if I'm out in the sunlight, which doesn't make sense to me, but it's the way it is.
You want to change the extended, Greg?
What's that?
You want to change the extended for you?
Shoot it again and see if it happens again.
You'll have to get onto archery supplies, Jimmy, and tell him you need a new setter. Pushing your luck. Get onto archery supplies and tell him you need a setter.
I'll order you one today.
Hang on. Whoa. Genius.
Lucky you're on.
Lucky Greg's on the
Nearly put
ball.
The same one back in the same hole, didn't I?
You nearly did.
Now I know why Jimmy does jiu-jitsu, because he hits like a girl.
Don't punch in jiu-jitsu.
I said that out loud, didn't I?
Yeah, only punching when you're sitting on top of them. All right, so Jimmy, I suggest you put that other one in case someone goes straight through the hole into the tree.
And hits the tree. We don't want that happening.
Start aiming through the hole.
That never happens here.
That one's so much thinner. Alright, should be good to go now.
I guess if there's a whole lot of holes in it, it's going to,
Oh, it softens up for sure.
but it's going to go in, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the pressure around the whole centre loosens if you're punching holes through the middle of it. You got a 60 metre setting for that field, haven't you? Yeah.
I've got them all. I'm just making sure they're.
Have you got your 5 metre increments too?
Yeah.
No excuses, good to go.
Right, let's do another one here and see if I shoot low again. High, shooting high, wasn't I?
Have you got anything on your scope that you can get a reference with the size of the hole in your pin, in your peep? Sorry.
Sorry?
If you got something on part, like you can't see your whole scope,
Can you line the white
you need
up?
to find another reference point that you can use consistently, because that equal light or equal value of where your peep is on your scope makes a major difference.
I was sure I could see the whole scope.
One thing I noticed is that my bow sits a lot higher and lower in your hand.
Mm.
And this is too tight now, I think.
Yeah, well, the weight's supposed to be pulling it down at a different angle because
I
of.
think because
Yeah.
it's so heavy this way, it must be a bit straighter or something.
Yeah.
Unless it's too tight, you don't want it tight on
No,
you.
you don't want it too tight at all. That's how I've done mine up on mine like that. Yeah. So I had the little leather sling at the front, but the stabiliser thing wouldn't stay tight on it. You got your sight bar in the right spot, obviously.
The what?
Is that sight bar in the right spot?
Yep.
Okay, just checking, because that changes your scope size.
No, but
Closer
it's
on you.
changed since the last end, hasn't it? The last end I got a 58 centred, and the last one I shot they were all high.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking because you haven't been able to see the whole scope from the start of the day, and you said you could before.
Oh, maybe that's what it is, after that movement.
That's possibly what it is. Because when we did the torque tuning, or when Jimmy did the torque tuning, didn't we change
They're
the
all
position?
high.
But you've tried, we put the peep in after that though.
Yeah, we did. That's right. Yeah.
But he's tried it after that, so I don't know why it's not 1.3 anymore.
Not moving.
Or is it?
The air temperature's warmed up. That'll create some controversy.
Bad shot, it's too low.
Just slow your shooting down and you watch your follow through. You're starting to chop things off. Just slow it down. Exaggerate your follow through. Go back to that. That's better. Slow it all down again. This is a thing that happens when people's shooting good. They start to chop the follow
Should I
through
get my arrows?
down.
What
Yeah,
are you
get
doing
your
that?
arrows and playing with me, really. With me knots.
We'll try.
Thing, you change one thing, you got to change everything, don't you?
Yep. There's always compounding factors, no question.
That could be why the bow's not going anywhere.
Maybe it's too tight. But you'd feel it in your wrist. If it wasn't moving, you'd feel that forward motion wanting to happen.
Oh yeah, that's
But your
true,
wrist
yeah.
holding it. I think it's not going anywhere, just a different balance in the weight you got on it. There's just not enough forward motion created by the limbs to
Yeah, it's
override the
just-
weight of everything.
Just steady.
Yeah,
It's neutral now.
which is not a bad thing. Like, the theory of that's quite sound, actually.
Maybe I should try finger sling. Greg's got
Well, that's what I was just going to throw out there for you about a finger sling.
Save me fucking around with this thing.
They're a lot more simplistic with the way they work. But there's a lot less of a distraction with a sling like that too, because you don't feel it on your fingers.
Yeah, and I'd have to put it on every time.
I used to use finger sling, but with the parallel limb bow, I've just gone back to one of them, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Try it now.
They don't have
You
to be-
got many finger slings on you, Greg? Have you got them all on you?
Greg's got a multitude of them.
Okay, so I'll try finger
He's got his
slings.
private supply by one of the viewers. How
Big
good's
tone.
how good's that?
Tiny.
That's great.
Ooh.
Oh, so he gives you your oldest, grottiest one he's got.
Oh, should I go on? Oh, give it back then.
He's keeping his private supply for himself.
Please, some people.
Only stirring you can.
I
Yep.
know you are.
We're just putting you under a bit of pressure, see how you react.
Well, I don't know why they're all shooting high. That's madness.
Don't think about it, just go back to your basic and your follow
Go
through.
back to- I'm not gonna-
I want you to exaggerate your follow through. Slow it down and exaggerate the follow through.
Maybe I should just.
No, I want you to leave where it is. There shouldn't be any need to change it. I want it to get it back where it was so you don't sort of keep thinking about it.
Now it moves.
Now it moved. Okay.
Video. Alrighty guys, so we're out of batteries. Hope you like this one. It's a long one, us tuning things in, getting a few groups going. Hit the like button for me, hit the